Well, I was gonna do a repair video of this HP Agilent 54845A 4-channel 1.5 GHz oscilloscope, but it's kind of hard to do a repair video on something that actually works. And I mean, we went ahead and powered it up just to see what error log come in, and it's been passing every single test, but yet it says right up there, fail self-test, cal fail self-test and stuff like that. I don't know, I don't know what they mean by fail, and there's no old log saying even failed tests before, so wonder they just labeled this wrong and they accidentally sent me a fully working one instead of the broken one or whatever the case is, because this thing fully works. And I mean, I ran it from when it was cold to hot just to see if any intermittent issues come up and stuff like that, and it starts failing tests, and it's literally passed it every single time, even the extended test and stuff. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with this oscilloscope. Now, what on the next part I am going to do though is I am going to yank the hard drive out, go ahead and do a clone of it, and I'll show you how to do that. I'll actually go ahead and hook it up to the computer and show you the cloning process and stuff. And then I'll clone it to another hard drive so that way I can have a backup copy of this one. Don't have to do NVRAM on this one or anything like that because someone's already did that. It got a brand new NVRAM battery on it, so I'm going to leave well enough alone. I'll go and check everything else and stuff. And fans are actually, even though the scope seems loud now, they're actually nice and smooth. There's no bearing noise or anything like that. The scope's just loud like this. It's just how it is when they were new. But either way it goes, she does fully function. Actually, in a way, disappointed because I wanted something to be wrong with it. So, you know, maybe I could go in the video and show you how to repair it or whatever the case is. But there's nothing to fix on it. So, the only thing I'm going to do is probably just general maintenance. Go ahead and make sure I get the original hard drive out there, clone it. You know, I'll go ahead and check everything else over while I'm at it. And I guess that'll be it. So definitely one of the maintenance things that you want to do when you're dealing with old test equipment and stuff like that is if it uses a hard drive, you definitely want to clone the contents of the hard drive to a new drive, and then that way you have backup of the original content, but you also have, you know, a newish lower hour drive that's less likely to fail right away, or you can even use a compact flash or SSD. Now to do the clone pretty much, obviously you're going to need an adapter to USB for that. And this one has an IDE to USB that I can use to actually connect to the computer. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all set up and plugged into the computer. And then you also need an empty available drive, obviously, on the computer, because at first we'll go ahead and transfer the contents on there to the internal hard drive on the computer, and then we're going to go ahead and copy it to the new drive. So you can go ahead and plug in the source drive, the one that you're cloned from, to the computer using the adapter, and you should, if the drive is working, obviously see it pop up after a few seconds. And here's the original drive. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this drive and we're going to clone the whole entire partition to the internal hard drive that's in the computer. So I just typically, you can use whatever clone software you actually perform to do and stuff like that. I use this one right here. And I'm using an older version because they took the function out on later versions. So we're going to open this up. And it's going to pop up right there, of course, the available stuff that you can actually copy. And this is the one we're going to actually clone right here. So we're going to go right here. And we're going to choose this as obviously the source disk. And then it's going to tell us where do we want to clone it to. So we're going to go ahead and clone it to this empty drive right here. So we're going to click that there. And then essentially make sure that the partition that you want to clone is actually selected, obviously. Just go next, next, finish, and then it's going to tell you, do you want to save backup? No, that's okay. And then we're going to go ahead and actually go and clone it to that drive. It's going to ask you, do you want to, of course, format and overwrite the destination drive? Yes, we do, because that's the one that the data is going to get copied to, obviously. And then it's going to go ahead and start cloning pretty much. And here I'll just let you watch the clone process pretty much. And there you go. So now it's actively copying the data. And it should do it pretty quick because this is a pretty quick computer. So you can see there it's cloning all the stuff from the source drive now to the internal hard drive that I have set up for doing this on the computer. And the reason why I do this, I don't have to open up the computer and have two drives hanging out, because you could also just directly copy it, obviously, to the hard drive direct if you want to and stuff. But and then it's doing its process, so it's about 80% done. And you can see there it's going pretty quick. And hopefully we'll be done in a second here. And yep, there you go. And you can see there both of them popped up, so obviously it did clone it. And it said clone complete in about 1 minute and 11 seconds. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get the hard drive that I'm actually gonna put what I just backed up to the new hard drive there, and then I'll be right back once I'm done. So I went ahead and connected the destination drive that's going to go into the oscilloscope that's going to replace the source drive essentially into the computer using the USB to IDE. And now all you have to do, of course, is go back to your cloning software. We'll go right here. Alright, we're going to take the partition that we did copy into the computer's hard drive right here. We're going to clone this. Make sure that's check mark, of course, and then we're going to select the destination to the new hard drive that we're actually going to go ahead and be putting into the scope. Now, you don't necessarily have to use another hard drive. You can use an SSD. You could also use a compact IDE to compact flash adapter or whatever. Just make sure that, of course, the scope bias will actually detect it and so forth. So we'll go next. All right, it's going to tell us to do the same thing, schedule it. And then we'll go ahead and not, but you can choose to do what you want, of course. And then here you go, it's going to start the clone now. So there you go. And then, of course, too, you can also as well extend the partition once you're done and stuff like that. Of course, you got to look at the OS that's on the scope and see what the maximum partition size that you can actually use, of course, but there she is, she's cloned. So I'm going to go and put this back into the scope. It only took 22 seconds. And we'll go ahead and reinstall this back into the scope and see if it boots pretty much. So another battery of interest that you want to go ahead and actually place besides the NVRAM on this oscilloscope is the one that actually goes from the acquisition board to this PCI card here. And it's actually this Panasonic CR2354. So you want to go and change that out, but you want to change it out while it's hot, pretty much. In other words, you want to keep an external 3-volt supply to it. So pretty much what I usually do is just solder a couple bodge leads somewhere else at a different point, of course. And then I'll keep 3 volts to it, and then I'll go and solder a new cell in. So I figure I'll go ahead and give you an underside look of the scope before I go ahead and reassemble it. Off camera, I went ahead and took the alcohol. I actually took all the hybrids out, cleaned the pogo pins and everything like that, and then went ahead and reassembled everything, of course torquing it down to spec, because you don't want to over tighten or make them too loose and stuff like that. You don't want to crack those ceramic packages. That's why I did it off camera, because I kind of wanted to take my time and do it right instead of trying to do it quick, and then I end up cracking it, and then I'll end up having to pull it off another scope, which I don't want to do. So I did all that pretty much. The only thing left for this oscilloscope pretty much is to go ahead and find a suitable hard drive, because unfortunately the BIOS has an 8 gig limit to it, so I will have to find, either reflash the board or just find an actual suitable drive for it. But I'll probably end up just going, what I kind of want to do is IDE to compact flash adapter, which is pretty much what I'm going to do. I'd rather do that than try to find a new hard drive, because people are asking for a new old stock hard drive for some of these older drives. It's kind of insane, to be honest with you. But either way it goes, I'll figure something out. If not, I could probably just reflash the board too as well. But here you go. You see the oscillator right there. The hybrids are right there. Your attenuator assembly is right there. Just to give you a look at least. But I'm going to go and flip this around. I'll go and show you the 2 things I got left to do, and that'll be it pretty much. So I want to go over one of the cards that you do have that has a battery on there, and it's this one right here, and you can see the Panasonic battery I was showing you was earlier down there. I went ahead and ordered a replacement for that, so hopefully that will come in soon. I also went ahead and ordered a brand new old stock hard drive that will actually work with this thing, because all the hard drives that I have, unfortunately, this bias has an 8 gig limit, so I can't use them pretty much. But either way it goes, I'm going to go and put a new drive in it, keep this one as spare. I do got a backup now of this drive anyway, so even if it failed, doesn't matter. Thankfully, someone actually went ahead and replaced the NVRAM, but I'm going to probably end up replacing it again with a custom solution, but that'll be down the road. I'm not worried about it right now. And to be honest with you, that only holds the bias to the main board, you know, information, stuff like the date and time and the configuration and stuff. So even if it were a fail, it doesn't matter. The one that you got to worry about is the one in this card, pretty much. But I'm going to go and do that. Got to wait for parts to come in, so there'll probably be a part 2 to this. So I went ahead and put the HP 1.5 4-channel oscilloscope in its spot pretty much. And I kind of moved things around. I actually got more bench space now. Now we're talking. You know, so it actually worked out perfect, because now instead of having the oscilloscope here and you couldn't put nothing on top of it, now I can put the analog one over here, which is kind of where I wanted it anyway, because when I work on decks and stuff, I typically have cables on this side of the bench and not by the solder iron and stuff like that. So it actually works out quite well. Thankfully, the scope works 100%. I couldn't find a single problem with it. And I mean, I literally ran it through the calibrator, ran it through my level generator, which I got it on right now, and I cranked this thing up to 1.5 gigahertz, and it works flawlessly, you know, and all 4 channels too. And even did some complex math, which I'll get into that because it's kind of not the fastest scope. I'll just keep it that way, you know what I mean? The problem is the motherboard, the main motherboard on the computer, and the processor and stuff is shit on this thing, so that's actually going to be an upgrade down the road. I'm probably going to go ahead and look at the upgrade package one guy's selling, which has the 1 gigahertz processor, motherboard, and hard drive, and everything that you need in one package. So I might just buy that, throw it in here, and see how well it does. I think he said it's XP too, so that would actually be nice. But either way it goes, definitely gonna look into that. But one of the things I want to get first is get the probes and all that I actually need for this thing, because I went from Tektronix, so now I gotta sell all that shit and get some active and differential probes for this thing, which is gonna be quite pricey, because unfortunately Agilent Keysight probes are not cheap. I did have some because I had a 3000 series MSO before and stuff like that. I kept a couple, but I sold a lot of it when I went ahead and got rid of that scope, because unfortunately the FPGA failed on it. But either way it goes, now I got to go ahead and rebuy it, I guess. Whatever, it is what it is. But I did test it. It does work. I tested all 4 channels. I tested the trigger. I did some multiplex. I mean, I did everything. I ran this thing for a few hours, and it's worked flawlessly. It passes self-test every time. You know what I mean? So there's nothing wrong with it. And here, we'll go ahead and crank up the generator. We're at 104 megahertz. And we're at 400 megahertz. Okay, and you can see there, it's running pretty nice actually. We'll go up to 600 megahertz right now. Not the greatest cable, but yep, she is working, and all 4 channels work good, so there's nothing wrong with it pretty much. In here, let's go and turn off the output, and let's just go to the other generator. Alright, we're going to switch to source. Okay. And then we got a 10 megahertz square wave in it. You can see nothing wrong with that. We can even go to, let's just go here. We'll go 20 megahertz square wave. A little ringing because the cable, but nice and good, you know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with this scope. I mean, I tested all 4 channels, ran it for a few hours, nothing wrong. The only thing that I need to do is, like I said, replace the battery on the card. I'm probably going to look to upgrade the motherboard on this thing, because I'll probably be doing some complex math on this thing, and I don't want it freezing up, so I'm going to go ahead and get a better board, because I know they got one that you can upgrade it to a 1 GHz processor, more RAM, and a much better board. So that's probably likely what I'm going to do right after I get the probes, though, because I'd rather spend the money and get the probes first, and then I'll look into doing the other upgrades. But she works fine. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. I'm quite happy with this purchase. I kind of made a mistake earlier when I said that I wanted to upgrade this thing to a 1 GHz processor and different motherboard and all that other stuff. And when I said that, I was actually thinking of the Tektronix 7000 series that I'm used to actually doing that with. This one here, I looked it up and of course went through Google different forums and everything like that for people to have these. And it has the latest revision motherboard already in it. And it has the K6 processor already in it, so you're not going to be able to upgrade it any faster. Pretty much just stuck with what it has, since it has the later version instead of like the earlier ones which had the K5 processor and so forth. So it's going to stay with what it is, I guess. Maybe I'll upgrade to more memory, but that's pretty much all you can do. And yes, I'm definitely going to go ahead and get a new old stock hard drive for this thing and put that in there and stuff like that, but there's not much you can do about the processor and motherboard. Unfortunately, it has the latest revision, so that's what it's going to stay with, I guess.